All right, some highlights from the chat room today. In my watch list video last night, I said I would follow up if any of the stocks from the watch list met my entry parameters and whether or not I traded it and how so, or how I called it. ISR did just that. Now, this is what it looked like in the video last night. I'm not counting today's candle yet, or I didn't add today's candle in. You had a crazy move and then a few days down into the 8-day, okay? Now, let me go to intraday candles. All right, 2-minute candles here. And this was the opening candle. So here's the close yesterday. You can see it gapped up. As I said in the video yesterday, I prefer these things to actually gap down. The gap up takes some of the mustard out of it, if you will. But this one still did pretty well as far as I was comfortable trading it even though it gapped up. And here's how I called it. Okay, so you had the gap up and it sold off. I like the fact that it gapped up, sold off, but stayed within a dime range, okay, between the low and the high. I mean, whoops, that's not what I wanted. From the early low to the early high, it was less than a dime. So it's interesting to me. If this thing starts to kind of break this little flag pattern or series of lower highs, I think it's going to push through the high of the day. And then I think they're going to pile in because of that daily chart I just showed you. So I called it simply a little bit arbitrary, but I called it long if it got to about here. I think let me get this right. I called it long at 218 with a stop at 210. Okay. 218 is just kind of a little flag break, and then I think everything starts to fall into place, and look what happens. From 218, I'll switch to 5-minute candles now. It went all the way to 269, 51 cents in our favor on a $2 stock. That's pretty darn impressive. 23% move in our favor after the call. Never stopped out. And on the daily, in case you're thinking, well, it's a thin stock. No, it's not. It traded 28 million shares today. Didn't close strong, but neither did the market. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So that was a really nice trade. Actually made my day. I do think I also had OPTT in that video. So let me go into that real quick. Now this one I didn't like as much as ISR. It didn't have as much passion behind it because as you remember, it was just at support. Well, there's the opening 5-minute candles high. Sold off a little bit, started to come back up. I said if this breaks the high, which was also the pre-market high. So I called it long at 426 if it gets there. Geez, what was the stop? 417. So it triggered there, and then, in about 10 minutes, it went up to 443. Plenty of time to put a little bit of money in your pocket, plenty of volume, but certainly didn't follow through. And here's the daily, and you can see it ended up closing weak with the market, but I'll take today's candle out of it. This one, you don't have the same kind of passion. You just have a stock at support and a green candle, but look at 1 million shares yesterday. Nowhere near the passion that you had in ISR with these crazy volume and crazy moves. So, but anyway, made a little bit of money on that one too. And the other highlights from the day, Stevie B, one of our moderators, he called CTXS Law. Now you can see this is one of those shape plays we talk about, okay, where it's grinding and starts to really fall apart, a little bounce, and then grinding and really falls apart again. So this wasn't on our watch list, but this caught our attention. And you can see the increasing volume and the shape to the downside. Took out that whole number 57, but right back up. Stevie B just called it over this candle. So 57.23, this is a 2-minute candle with a low of day stop, which was 33 cents below. And anyone who didn't take that, he gave another option of 57.52 over this base. And that triggered there. So we had a couple different ways to play it. Whichever entry you took, or anybody took, it still went up to over 58.50. So a really nice call there. And he also called DGX. You can see the gap up there. Now this stock's pretty beaten up on the daily and then had a surprise gap up and a very clean pullback to the 8-period moving average 5-minute candles. He called this long at 57.15 with a stop only 17 cents below, and it went up over 58.50. It went up $1.41 in our favor on 17 cents risk. So an excellent call there too. Stevie B was very, very much on fire today. And I believe that's it, but I really wanted to follow up and show you because I do a lot of videos where I post potential bounce plays, okay? And so ISR is a good example of how I look to play those. Now I talked about an afternoon base and an afternoon break. That's one way I'll play them. But if you get a gap up and it stays in a narrow range and then breaks its early 5-minute high, that's a secondary way that I'll play them. And in this case, ISR turned out to be a huge percentage gainer, right? I don't know if I'm going to make a video tonight or not, but I may make a video and put it out tonight of the watch list for tomorrow. Just be careful tomorrow. I would recommend sitting on your hands for the first 15 or 20 minutes just to see what happens. We're at that 185 area on the SPY, but yeah, definitely ugly selling at the close, and just a weak day all day. I mean, just never broke the downtrend after the gap up. So be careful tomorrow if you're thinking long. Have a list of potential shorts available to yourself as well. And in my opinion, nobody knows if we hold 185 at the open or not. So I recommend sitting on your hands for the first 15 or 20 minutes to get a feel for what the market is going to do and how it's going to act. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.